We're here with Mr. Trevor Potter, a man who knows elections and campaign finance inside and out. You are working with Stephen Colbert on his Colbert Super PAC. How did this whole thing happen?
Stephen Colbert is a brilliant man. He called me out of the blue. His staff called me and said, "We understand you're the PAC expert. We need someone you're the PACman. We need someone to explain what PACs are, how they work." And so he called me up. We had a long conversation. At the end of it, he said, "Would you be willing to say that in public on the show?" And I said, "Sure." The great thing about Colbert is that he can take a subject that can be very complicated, and he will figure out how to explain it in a couple of questions in maybe a 4-minute segment, so that it's really clear and it's funny.
Do you understand what they're saying in here? What are they really saying?
They're saying they're nervous about what you're trying to do because it's slightly different than what other people have done before. They're nervous that Viacom is going to end up making an illegal corporate contribution to your PAC.
But they're allowed to give money to a super PAC. Corporations can give money. Why wouldn't they want to give me all that sweet, sweet money?
I try to be clear, but I can't do it in 4 minutes, and I'm usually not funny.
How real is this PAC?
Oh, it's registered with the Federal Election Commission. It's raised a lot of money.
How much money are we talking?
It's raised over $1 million. I don't know what's in it now because he spent some on ads.
Corporations, America's greatest institution.
A storm is gathering over Iowa. A money storm.
On January 21st, vote Herman Cain.
What the PAC enabled him to do was to bring everyone who's watching the show into the room when decisions are made. How do you start a PAC? Why would you have a PAC? How do you hide money in this system? One of the things he did after he'd started his PAC was start one of these nonprofit groups, because then he could explain that if he had a billionaire who wanted to give to the PAC, they'd have to report his name. If the same billionaire gave the money to this nonprofit, the nonprofit wouldn't report his name. The money could be given by the nonprofit to the PAC. This is crazy, but that's what he was able to demonstrate by showing how it's done.
So by creating his own PAC, he was able to pull apart the ins and outs of what happens in a PAC and really get beyond the veneer.
So that all of us could see how it actually works.
When we're thinking of the Colbert Super PAC, are we looking at it as Colbert, the TV host, or Colbert, the real-life human being?
Well, that's the great thing about Stephen Colbert. He's this large persona. He has a role, I think, in educating the American public as Stephen Colbert of the Colbert Report, and that's what we see on the show, and that's who's running the Super PAC.
You've gotten to know him as a real-life human being, with the makeup off of the sound stage. What do the two men look like next to each other? The Stephen Colbert on set and the Stephen Colbert behind the scenes?
Well, actually, when you go on the show for the first time, he comes around to see you and shake your hand and introduce himself. And he says, "I'm Stephen Colbert. I wanted to meet you because you're about to go out on the show, and I can be kind of a jerk out there, so I wanted you to meet me in person first. That way, you're maybe not as offended when he goes after you on the show." But in both characters, he is this really bright person with a twinkle in his eye and his brain running 100 miles an hour. So when you say something to him, you can see that he's thinking about what it is, what it meant, what it might not mean, and what he can do with it. And that's the fun of working with him.
Mr. Potter, it's been fun working with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.